Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, March 6th, 2020, and I am Ray. I wanted to post this video today because today will be my last day at home until I go back to work next Monday. So if you're watching this video without having watching the previous videos, I was hospitalized on February 12th this year because of grand mal seizure. I was then released on February 16th. But ever since then, I've been experiencing some tremendous back pain. And that's something I actually addressed this week. So just kind of a brief recap of this week and at the end of last week. So at the end of last week, I had a rheumatology appointment on Friday. And I was decreased prednisone strength, so I went from 10 milligrams down to 5, and pretty much everything else stayed the same. Now, I had to follow up this past week with a neurosurgeon about my spine and a neurologist about the seizure itself and where do we go from here, some of the theories as to what caused the seizure. But anyway, my neurosurgery appointment was on Tuesday, and I had a lot of MRIs done. An MRI on my spine, an MRI on my brain, as well as a CAT scan and X-rays, I believe, chest X-rays. I'm not 100% better by no means. As a matter of fact, the biggest thing that I'm facing now is the back pain. On Tuesday, I looked at some of the MRIs, and it has been fully confirmed that what I have are compression fractures between C7 and T8. If that's the case, there is a lot of compression fractures. What I know is I'm experiencing a lot of pain. But anyway, I was prescribed a back brace, which I went to get fitted for today, and it should be ready in a couple of weeks. And if the pain increases over the next couple of weeks, then they'll reassess, and there's a possibility of surgery. But I'll discuss that later if that happens. And then Wednesday, I had an appointment with my neurologist, first time meeting actually both teams. And we talked about some of the things that may have caused the seizure, because I don't have a history of seizures. And I believe that was the first seizure I've ever had. So back in May of last year, I was diagnosed with lupus, shortly after rheumatoid arthritis, and ankle vasculitis, but I believe that's been ruled out. On top of that, type 2 diabetes, being on prednisone, that's a possibility as to why. And then also, I had a couple of infusions of Rituxan, and well, not because of that, but when I moved back to where I'm at, I experienced a pulmonary embolism, RPE, and a DVT, and I forget exactly what that acronym is for, but I'm sorry, deep vein thrombosis. So the DVT was in my leg, the PE was in my lungs, in the left lung, and that's being treated with blood thinner. And so within 2 years, less than 2 years, I've been hospitalized 6 times. And I made a big move across country to be closer to family and to get treatment at one of the top facilities in the country for this, or in the world, to treat chronic illnesses, in particular lupus. So, made a big sacrifice, spent thousands of dollars in healthcare as well as moving expenses and things like that. So I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball financially, but trying to dig myself out of that hole. But anyway, that's not going to be the bulk of this video. It's just kind of a recap of what's been going on. What am I planning on doing is just really getting organized, learning how to deal with transportation, public transportation, because for years, since basically my teens, I've been driving, and I know that's a benefit not everyone has, but it's the life I've had. And In high school, I used to use the public transportation quite a bit, but after that, I didn't really do it. The only concerns I have right now is, timing everything out to be able to get to work on time and to be able to get home in a reasonable time. But where I live, the traffic here is pretty horrible, so it's really not going to be that much of a difference when it comes to that. But I'm dealing with back pain, and buses like to have, or when you're riding buses, sometimes they'll have quick stops. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect the pain in my back, and hopefully I'll be able to get a good seat in the bus and train so that I don't have to experience too much discomfort. The other thing I'm concerned about is right now the coronavirus is a big thing, so I'm going to have to make sure that I may have to wear a mask. I'm definitely going to bring my own sanitary wipes and wipe down the pole if I need to hold on to it. Things to be proactive about, because I do have a compromised immune system. I've been taking immunosuppressant drugs basically since May or June, and unfortunately I hadn't gotten sick in that way in quite some time. But there's no guarantee, taking vitamin C and things like that to try to boost my immune system, but we shall see. So anyway, the rest of this video, I'm going to try to keep it at 10 minutes to talk about getting organized and staying organized when you have a chronic illness or any type of illness for that matter. If you've been out of work because of an injury, things of that nature, you're going to want to try to stay on top of everything that you're about to experience. So something that works for me is I have a spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, I have multiple tabs. And I wish I could show it to you on this presentation, but I hadn't reached that point yet when it comes to doing these vlogs and adding that element to it. It's something I'm going to work on, and later on down the road, hopefully in next quarter or the third quarter, I'll be able to implement some of those things. But on my spreadsheet, I am going to look at the spreadsheet. I have the second screen above me, so don't mind me if I'm kind of looking like I'm staring off into space. But I have multiple tabs. So on the spreadsheet, on spreadsheets, you're able to create multiple tabs. If you're an experienced spreadsheet user, this makes sense. If you're not, I would say do a Google search for YouTube videos on spreadsheet basics, because that's basically all I use to keep organized, as well as some Word documents to put my appointments and things like that on. So on this Excel sheet, I have a tab for information. So under the information tab, I have my doctor's information, the telephone numbers, the fax numbers, a link to the websites to be able to view patient information, such as radiology scans, discharge summaries from my hospital visits, as well as visits to my doctors. Also in that same spreadsheet, on that same tab, I have information about my preferred pharmacies. So you go to your doctor or your doctors and ask you what your pharmacy is and where they can fill the prescription that you may need, prescriptions. And so in some of the cases I use CVS, and in other cases I use Express Scripts to fill my prescriptions. And so I have the information all readily available, as well as emergency contact information. And I believe that's all I have on that tab. I'm going to go into more depth into further videos with each tab and exactly how to design those. In another tab, I have just websites, websites such as lupus organizations, WebMD, other informational websites, things that I want to revisit or visit in the future. Just kind of get a better understanding of the things that I'm suffering from, as well as information about rheumatoid arthritis and issues of the spine now. Then I have a tab for my appointments. So I have past appointments on there as well as future appointments. And it's kind of the way I have it designed. It's beneficial to me because if I have a date in the past, that date is highlighted in red. Any date for future appointments, ones that I hadn't done yet, it just stays white until that date is passed. And I could talk about how you can make your spreadsheet function in that way, but it's something that's beneficial for me. In another tab, I have a list of all my medications and how I'm supposed to take those meds. It's not really a tab I use much, so I'm probably going to either tweak it or delete it. Because in another tab, I have medication fills. So as you can imagine, with chronic illnesses, you're on a lot of medications, and you're needing to keep track of what medications you fill, the cost of that medication, what your copay was, and just keeping track of how much you spend throughout the year on medications to see if you can, maybe find savings in some of those areas. If you have to switch to a 90-day supply, you may be able to see those cost savings if you have a spreadsheet in front of you. Let me see. I have a tab for labs. Because I have lupus, I get quite a few labs that I have to do, and so for me, to be able to see the variations and the differences between some of the things that they're tested for, it gives me more information to be able to talk to my rheumatologist or primary care physician or whomever I'm dealing with. It could be hematologist, it doesn't matter. But if I'm able to see those differences and to be able to better ask questions on these things, it's good for me to have that information in one spot. So yeah, tab for labs. And then I have a journal tab, which I would say I need to use it a little bit more, kind of keep track of when I have joint pains or what I experience when I'm decreasing dosage from certain medications. I can keep it there, as well as hospital and doctor visits. I can put that information right there and revisit it from time to time. Separate tab for all my visit summaries to the hospitals. I have a link for each one of the documents that I have. So, of course, it's easy for me to get to those documents. If I'm a new patient somewhere, sometimes they're not able to access the patient portals to be able to pull that information. So what I have is a tab with all those documents linked to a certain folder in my computer. And then I have a tab for medical bills and invoices. So this is a longer video than I want, but I'm going to wrap it up right here. And in videos to follow, I will dive deeply into each one of the tabs. And anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and I'll be posting more than likely next Saturday. So you all take care. Take number one.